Hi, I'm Rachel Abbott, and this is the Standard's Tech and Science Daily Podcast. If you're new here, make sure to hit follow and give us a rating. Coming up, the Met Office, as Hurricane Helene makes landfall in Florida. But first, one of the most famous faces of alternative medicine on the planet, Deepak Chopra, says we're at a crucial crossroads with technology, one of which he says leads to the extinction of humanity.
Every technology can be misused. It's already being misused. Interference with elections, cyber hacking, cyber bullying and all that. But once the technology is born, it's irreversible. It's irreversible. You cannot go back. It's like a child that's born cannot return to the womb. So either we adapt and make the best of technology, or we're doomed for extinction. This is our moment.
Deepak speaking to our sister podcast Brave New World there. The world-renowned author, health and wellness expert, has been at the intersection of science and spirituality for nearly 50 years. The interview is in line with the release of his 95th book titled Digital Dharma. In the conversation with host Evgeny Lebedev, Deepak also revealed how any of us can now receive spiritual guidance from him with his new digital AI twin.
And you can ask me a question right now in Hindi, in English, in Spanish, and in Arabic, and soon in Chinese, anything to do with well-being and spirituality. You'll probably get a better answer than I can give you because I don't remember everything I've said. This thing tracks. And then there's something in AI, something called the RAG model, which is retrieval augmentation generation. And what the RAG model does, which I use in my digital twin, if something is irrelevant that I've said in the past and no longer supported by science or philosophy, it discards it. It looks at everything that is current.
To hear the full conversation, just search Brave New World Evening Standard or tap the link in our show notes. There's a full article online at standard.co.uk. Now, forecasters have warned of a catastrophic storm surge as Category 4 Hurricane Helene makes landfall in northwest Florida. Around 11:10 p.m. local time on Thursday, the National Hurricane Center in Miami reported that Helene was close to the mouth of the Osceola River in the Big Bend region of Florida's Gulf Coast.
Well, hurricanes have categories which go from 1 to 5. Now, Hurricane Helene has been Category 4, which means it's had wind strengths in the region of 140 miles an hour. So that's extremely strong. It's the strongest hurricane to hit Florida since Hurricane Michael back in 2018, which was actually a Category 5 hurricane. So in terms of the wind strength, it's been really strong. But the key thing with Hurricane Helene is that it's a very large hurricane in terms of its footprint, which means it's produced an awful lot of rainfall, and the storm surge has been really serious as well along a vast part of the Florida coast.
That's Julian Hemming, tropical prediction scientist at the Met Office. Next, University of Oxford scientists are urging parents to get their children vaccinated amid rising cases of whooping cough and measles in the UK.
Cases are rising for a number of different reasons. One of them is the pandemic and the disruption that caused in vaccination because appointments were cancelled. Another is vaccine hesitancy. There have been rising, cases of misinformation being published online and dissuading people from getting the vaccine. And another is inequalities, health inequalities, which mean that people from certain communities are less likely to get vaccinated for a whole range of reasons.
That's the London Standard's health reporter Dan Keane. The team from the Oxford Vaccine Group have created an animation that they say shows the critical role whooping cough jabs play in protecting against infection.
So whooping cough is a very nasty illness and it can cause some very serious complications in young babies. What it does is cause repeated coughing that can last for up to 3 months, and that's why doctors give it the nickname the 100-day cough. The first symptoms start like a cold, but within weeks you can end up with very intense coughing bouts, and they are quite likely to be admitted to hospital in serious cases, and it can cause death.
It's reported that there have been 9 deaths of infants from whooping cough in England since November last year. The latest figures from the UK Health Security Agency show 12,200 confirmed cases between January and July 2024. Let's go to the ads. Coming up in part 2, our Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer tells the London Standard he can take the UK to the front of the AI race. See you back here in just a minute. Welcome back. The Prime Minister has told the London Standard about his plans for AI and how he hopes to take the UK to the front of the race. But can we really compete with the likes of America?
Well, at the moment, Silicon Valley is ahead. That's very much seen as the number one place. But Sir Keir Starmer told the London Standard how many of these companies, such as Anthropic and OpenAI, have already chosen to locate their European headquarters in London. He's saying that kind of, if you look at these major global firms, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Google, they're investing billions into infrastructure to support AI in London. So it's already happening that there is a focus on London, and Britain more generally has a history of innovation, of entrepreneurs breaking new ground, and in government also parts of government are very, very agile and quick at seizing and developing on new ideas. Lots of Whitehall is quite sclerotic and slow, but we have centres of excellence which are very much world leading.
That's our political editor, Cecil, in conversation with our daily news podcast, The Standard.
I also spoke to Vishal Maria, who is chief executive and founder of an AI unicorn called Quantexa, i.e. is worth $1 billion. But this is one of the companies which is kind of forging ahead in terms of AI in London. And what he was saying was that 2023 was very much the year, in his words, of demystifying AI for lots of companies and government. So it was all new to them. They were trying to work out how to use it, what advantages it could bring, what potential downfalls there are. But he's saying that now, 2024 is a year where many of these companies and government are really starting to put AI into their systems, into their services to see how it can improve what they're delivering.
Speaking to Rochelle Travers, Nicholas said he even asked artificial intelligence for their thoughts on the subject.
It seemed to sit on the fence a bit, basically, because it did say that London has lots of talents in terms of AI and so on, but it also pointed out that it has other rivals such as Paris and Zurich and Berlin.
To hear the full story, search for the Standard podcast. And finally, almost 3,600 seals have been counted in the Thames Estuary, which experts say shows the habitat is still healthy. The Zoological Society of London teamed up with military helicopter pilots based at RAF Shawbury this year for its annual Grey and Harbour Seal survey across the Greater Thames Estuary.
We try to keep as high altitude as possible to avoid disturbing the seals, and we use long-range lenses to get really good footage that allows us to identify species. Some of the areas we cover by boat, and again here we use long-range lenses to stay as far away and avoid disturbance.
That's Hannah McCormick from ZSL, who led the study. They counted the number of mammals laying out on sandbanks and estimated how many may be in the water. They concluded with a total of 599 harbour seals and 2,988 grey seals living in the Thames Estuary. The team are also still urging the public not to litter and decision makers to tackle pollution. You're up to date. Come back at 4 p.m. for the Standard podcast. For all the latest news, head to standard.co.uk. Tech and Science Daily will be back on Monday at 1 p.m. Have a lovely weekend.